So, if you're in the tech world at all, you've definitely heard the name Terraform thrown around. But what is it really? Is it some kind of replacement for AWS? Why would you use it when you can just, click around on a website? Well, in the next few minutes, we are going to clear all of that up. Let's dive in. Okay, let's just tackle the big questions head on, the ones everyone has at first. Why bother with a whole new tool when the AWS or Azure dashboard is right there? And probably the biggest question of all, is this thing trying to replace the cloud providers? Let's get that sorted out right now. To really get our heads around this, let's start with a simple analogy. We're going to compare using a cloud provider's website, their dashboard, to using Terraform. Think of it as the difference between trying to cook a complicated meal from memory versus following a perfect written-out recipe. On the one hand, you have the cloud dashboard. You're in there clicking buttons, scrolling through menus, trying to remember the exact sequence of steps you did last time. It's all manual. Now, on the other hand, you have Terraform. This is your recipe. You just write down exactly what you want, the servers, the networks, all the settings into a simple text file. It's a clear set of instructions that anyone can follow anytime. And this brings us to a really crucial point, and it answers one of our big questions from the start. Terraform does not, I repeat, does not replace AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. It's not a cloud provider. It's just a tool that automates how you talk to them. You still need the cloud. That's your kitchen. Terraform is just the recipe that guarantees your dish comes out exactly right every single time. Okay, so Terraform is our recipe. Makes sense. But wait a minute. Don't some cloud providers have their own tools for this? They do. So let's move on to our next comparison, which builds on this idea. Think of Terraform as a universal remote. A tool like AWS CloudFormation, for example, is like the remote that came with your Samsung TV. It works perfectly, but only for that one TV. Terraform is different. It's that universal remote you buy that can control your TV, your soundbar, your Blu-ray player, all of it. It was built from day one to be multi-platform, so it can talk to tons of different services, not just one. And this is where it gets really, really powerful. You could use one Terraform configuration to manage a database on AWS, a virtual machine on Azure, and maybe even your DNS settings over on Google Cloud. It's all managed from the same place with the same workflow. For companies that use a mix of different clouds, this is a huge deal. It keeps everything consistent and way simpler. All right, now for our final and maybe the most important comparison. How is writing a Terraform file different from just writing a normal script, say in Bash or Python, to do the same tasks? Well, this is like the difference between showing someone a picture of a finished house versus giving them step-by-step directions to build it. See, scripts are what we call imperative. They give a very specific step-by-step list of commands. First, do this, second, do that, third, do this other thing. You are responsible for figuring out the how. Terraform, on the other hand, is declarative. You don't write out the steps, you just describe the end result you want. You show it the picture of the finished house. You simply declare, I want a server that looks like this, and it should be connected to this network. And here's the magic in that approach. When you give Terraform that picture of what you want, its engine is smart enough to figure out the step-by-step directions all by itself. It automatically understands that it has to build the network before it can possibly put a server inside it. It handles all of that dependency logic for you, so you can just focus on what you want the final outcome to be. So now we know what Terraform is. It's a declarative, multi-cloud recipe book for our infrastructure. But does that mean you should use it for absolutely everything? Probably not. Let's talk about where it really shines. Terraform is absolutely perfect for any setup that you need to create over and over again, like making identical environments for development, testing, and production. It's built for teams where that recipe file can be shared, reviewed, and version controlled just like any other code. And, of course, it's ideal for long-term projects where your infrastructure is going to grow and change over time. But let's be practical here. If you're just firing up a single temporary server to run a quick test or mess around with something new, using the cloud dashboard is probably way faster. Writing a whole Terraform configuration for something you're going to delete in an hour is kind of like writing a 5-page gourmet recipe just to make a piece of toast. It's a little bit of overkill. So, if you only remember one thing from this, let it be this idea right here. Terraform is at its best when your infrastructure needs to be repeatable, predictable, and shared. So instead of just asking, what is Terraform? Try asking yourself, do I need my setup to be a predictable, shared blueprint? If the answer is yes, then Terraform is almost certainly the right tool for you.